Welcome to Central News. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, the Child Cancer Foundation's Shave Your Lid fundraiser will be held for the second year on the 2nd of March at the main Mount Beach. Professional hairdressers from Salon 1 in the Cove are donating their time to shave heads at Mount Beach Bald. Darwin from the Child Cancer Foundation says over 2/3 of the money raised goes directly towards the 11 families they support currently living with cancer and the 50 families they continue to support after their cancer journeys in the Bay of Plenty region.
Well, it goes mostly to supporting the children and their families through their individual journeys. It can be for their scholarships to help them with education, helping the parents and children as they go through their financial difficulties. It's a hugely financial, arduous time going through their journey. And, we provide the beads of courage, the family support homes, generally to support the kids and their families.
New Zealand policymakers could do a lot more to improve energy efficiency and conservation, a new report says. The report is the first part of the Energy Cultures Research Project, a $1 million project investigating how society can adapt rapidly to achieve a low-energy, low-carbon future. The report shows lower energy users, about 25% of the population, tend to have substandard housing and inefficient energy technologies, yet have very economical energy practices. Sustainability and economic development in the Bay of Plenty are both on the rise, but safety on the roads is still a major issue for the region. These are among the key findings of the Regional Land Transport Strategy's data collection for 2012. Regional Transport Committee Chairman Councillor Jan Nees says the results highlight both economic growth in the Bay and positive change in travel choices. She says the data is a good indicator that people and businesses are making more considered transport choices and also finding our transport services efficient, reliable and good value for money. Bay of Plenty Regional Council, in collaboration with Bay of Plenty Polytechnic, set up a new pest plant collection facility to help identify pest plants found around the region and to help educate the public and staff. Councillor Philip Sherry says the facility at Bay of Plenty Polytechnic Windermere campus is a great example of Regional Council collaborating with local partners for the benefit of the community. He says the pest plant collection will function as a showcase that will give people an opportunity to get up and close and to see, touch and smell the real plants. It will also serve as a collection facility where pest plants collected in the field or by the public can be correctly identified. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Wednesday will be mainly fine with some light winds. Your expected high is 26 and an overnight low of 12. Tauranga fine with a few sea breezes for your Wednesday. Your expected high is 24 and an overnight low of 16. Just ahead, the effects of the Rena grounding on kingfish. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. A Bay of Plenty Polytechnic student has been awarded a scholarship for her research into the effects of the Rena on kingfish larvae. I spoke with Fina to find out all about it.
Well, I applied to do a summer research scholarship with Bay of Plenty Polytech and I was lucky enough to receive it. And for the summer I've been working with Dr. Simon Muncaster looking at the effects of Rena oil and the dispersant that was used on the slick on kingfish embryos and larvae.
So what is the aim of your research?
So the aim is to try and establish in LC50, this is the standard measure of when 50% of your test subjects die when they're exposed to a given substance for a given amount of time. In our case that's 24 hours. We are also hoping to gather some data on DNA damage and also tissue and organ deformities.
What have been the findings so far?
So far, we've done 2 trials. The first trial we were looking at the kingfish embryos, and we found that there was quite a strong correlation between survivability and the concentration level for both oil and Corexit. And in our second trial we were looking at larvae, And we found that there wasn't actually a trend, so it almost seems like they're more hardy than the embryos, but this could have just been random or because it was a different batch of eggs from a different female. So currently we're doing a third trial just to confirm what we've found so far or to disprove it, and then we'll go from there.
What is Corexit?
Corexit. It's a dispersant produced by Nalco Holding Company. It's used specifically for oil slicks. They used it in the Gulf of Mexico. There's a couple of different types, but the one that we use is Corexit 9500. What it does is it breaks down the oil into smaller globules, and it can sink below the surface, and it allows it to biodegrade faster. It is quite a controversial product, however. It has been said by some people that it's actually more toxic than the oil itself, but other sources say that it's a really effective dispersant, so there's two sides to that story.
So potentially your research could actually lead to more evidence for that argument?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, there's research that has been done overseas that has suggested that Corexit is more toxic than oil itself, and I think our research will probably head in that same direction, but you never know, could be wrong.
So how long have you been researching, and how long are you expecting to research?
Well, the scholarship has been going for the summer, but we actually started this back in April last year, because for the Diploma in Marine Studies second year you have to do a research project, and we were going to look at the kingfish. So we did a wee pilot study, and that was just to kind of establish what concentrations we should be working with and what methodologies we should be using. And after that we were going to continue on with the kingfish, but they stopped spawning, so we couldn't get any more eggs. That's nature for you, I suppose. So for my second year project, I actually ended up looking at the same issue, but with paddle crab larvae. But now that I've gotten back to kingfish again, we'll be continuing to look at that, and potentially later on this year, be looking at paddle crabs again, just to see if there is a difference between the two species. So I could be working on it for the rest of the year pretty much.
Why kingfish?
Kingfish, we can get them easily from Niwa up in Bream Bay. So they're a really good source, and they send them down and they're just looked after nicely, that sort of thing. They're also a really important pelagic predator in our ecosystem, and we have a good understanding of their life cycle, so they're easy to work with. And they're also really important to our recreational fishery, so we kind of want to know what's been happening with the Rena, so kingfish seemed like a good place to start.
Is there any other research that you know of that's similar to this?
Not in New Zealand that I know of, but there has been research done overseas looking at the same sort of issues with varying species, and there has been differing results, but more often than not the Corexit appears to be more toxic than the oil, but in some cases this isn't the case. So I think that our findings are going to go along with Corexit being more toxic, but we don't really have concrete enough evidence to say that for sure yet.
Now your research is actually in a lab. Can you explain that process?
Well, because it's in a lab, we're taking out all those environmental factors that you see out in the ocean, because what we're trying to do is just to establish if it is actually toxic, and if it is, at what level. Out in the sea, you've got so many other variables, so we're just taking them all out. So we can't really relate it to the environment properly, but it'll give us a good baseline and understanding of where to go from there.
Coming up, the Cancer Society's Relay for Life. Welcome back. The Relay for Life is coming up soon, and it's a great way to help raise funds for the Cancer Society. I spoke with an upcoming participant.
The Relay for Life Well, it's an international event that has been going for a number of years. It involves, it's run by the Cancer Society of New Zealand, and it involves teams of people. This year it'll be over at Ruakura. Teams of people, usually 10 plus, that will be on the field or the oval at any one time. And you walk for 22 hours. Not all of the people all at once, but you've got to keep at least one of your members carrying the baton for that relay for those 22 hours.
So why was this event created?
It was created really to celebrate the fact that some people have a victory over cancer. Others didn't quite make it, but they are remembered on that event. And also primarily and originally to fundraise or to actually get some funds for research into why this particular disease is so rampant. Originally the event came about through the mind of a Dr. Geordie Klatt in the United States of America, in Tacoma, Washington. In 1985 he decided that the American Cancer Society needed more funding. So he said, look, I'll run around a track for 24 hours and I'll charge admission for people to come in and watch me do this, or for people to donate. And he did that, and in that one event, even in 85, raised $27,000 just on his own. And now there are over, it's spread internationally, and there are over 6,000 communities participating in this on an annual basis.
One man, 24 hours, that's ridiculous.
That's a pretty good run, yep.
It's a very long run, because there are events all over the country. So what events is the Pink Panthers going to be at?
The Pink Panthers, we will be participating in the event that's at Ruakura at the Ag Research Centre. We will start at, it's on the 9th and 10th of March. We start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, and we just keep on walking until midday on Sunday.
It's crazy, isn't it? So what are the details for the Ruakura event?
Ruakura, a lot of fundraising has been done prior to that, so this is pretty much the culmination of the year's fundraising. It's quite a social event, as well as your own team being there, and I suppose the camaraderie between the members of that team, and just, how would you say, just supporting one another and egging one along to actually get around it. There's a whole heap of other teams which you've met in previous years, and it's good to see them back. There's quite a bit of banter between different teams. You're not opposing, you're all on the same thing. And quite often as you go around the track, you'll get a bit of support from whoever it may be, whether they be the Angry Birds or the Smurfs or the Oompa Loompas or whatever, but there's a whole heap of themed teams there. There are also theme laps on the day and overnight. There's movies that screen at usually one end of the oval, so if you walk quick enough you can catch up with it, or if it's a slow movie you just tag along.
So tell us about your team, because your team's name is the Pink Panthers. Yep,
the Pink Panthers. How it came about, I'm not really sure. It was there prior to me arriving in Poland or Matamata. It's made up of primarily people that work at Poland Hospital, and it ranges from people that do maintenance and cleaning right through to the CEO, PAs, RNs, healthcare assistants. Just everyone gets in and just has a bash.
How many members have you guys got?
I think we've got 15 at the moment.
So I wonder how many their average is if you've got 22 hours of, that's over an hour walking each, isn't it?
Yeah, no, most of the time we sort of, over the, say we shall, the nocturnal hours, we sort of have a roster for people that'll be out there at that stage. Otherwise, as people come past, if they just want to tag out, someone else will sort of pick it up and run it with them, as long as we've got, we usually keep 2 on the track at the whole time, just for company.
Because you guys have been in previous years, what was it like in the recent years?
Recent years, I've only done one before and really enjoyed it. You do get a little bit of the old sore feet or whatever, but it's a sense of accomplishment that you've actually done it, and also that you're not only supporting your own team, but there's a whole heap of other people there that have And it's that community that have got together just to, as a community, and just to do something for someone else. Because really there's, I don't know if you look at your own family or whatever, but I lost my mother, both my parents-in-law, just had a brother-in-law that's been diagnosed, and 1 in 3 New Zealanders end up with this thing. So it's got to stop. Something's got to change.
Yeah, I think you're not alone there. I think pretty much most of us have now been affected by cancer, haven't we? In some way or another. So that's your reasons for entering the event?
Yep, just to support the team that I'm in, and also to support the community, and hopefully we can give back something. And also, it's going to be funds that are needed for research.
So how can viewers find out more information?
Relay for Life on the website, on the net, would be the. And it's quite a good one. There's a bit of history with regard to how it is, where it came from, what it's about, how you can actually participate as a team, or you can fundraise or you can donate. But the website would be the best one, otherwise email the Cancer Society of New Zealand.
To find out more about the Relay for Life, visit relayforlife.org.nz. Coming up, the recent local government reform conference. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Recently, a Rethinking Local Government conference was held by the Tauranga Chamber of Commerce. This was the first of its kind in the country. I called up Van from the Chamber to see what were some of the interesting points raised.
I was actually really pleased with the level of discussion around the community engagement and how it could have come up from the grassroots and the community's wants and needs. And the other thing that was important and I felt was really good about it wasn't about amalgamation, it was much more about collaboration, which we already do really well in the Bay. So those were two of the strongest points, but possibly the other things were the challenging nature of some of the speakers when they challenged some of the what I would call entrenched thinking about what local government is and does, and potentially the view that central government has over what local government should and shouldn't be doing. So those were they were a number of the key highlights that I felt came out of the conference.
So who were some of the standout speakers?
Frankly, all of them were excellent, but probably the ones that stood out for me were Peter McKinley, Rod Oram, and for passion, Bob Harvey. You couldn't go past his level of passion, and a couple of the grenades that he threw into the mix, which were excellent. But another one that was a real standout for the information was Natalie Jackson and the demographics across the Bay. I thought that she threw out some really challenging statistics that potentially will have a great impact, and certainly about the way local government looks at the growth areas and the economic picture that the Bay will hold around its ageing population.
Peter McKinley actually made the suggestion that local government could be taking more responsibility in the social services in the area. What were some of the reactions to that?
Well, that's been quite interesting. I think it's always a bit of a tricky one, particularly from the politicians who don't believe we should be in the what I would call soft infrastructure, which is those social and community development issues. But if you're going to talk about local government reforming and it coming from the community, then the people that need, use and deliver social services are going to want it to be more connected and more joined up. So there will be discussion about what that looks like. Potentially we're not going to get into hospitals or that kind of level of social services, but there will be good discussion around what community development is, especially around the Bay, and again, its ageing population. It will have an impact.
So what was some of the feedback from the local business community about the conference?
Interesting. I think they were very interested, but I think what has happened for a number of years is that business locally operates despite local government. They operate obviously in the compliance environment, but generally they operate despite them. But what we will do in the Where To from here is actually engage that business community and say, what does work for you? If you could have an optimum picture. What would that be? How do we work back from that? You know, and that was where Paul Tustin's speech was really interesting. They generally want, again, some of those soft infrastructures. If you're going to want high-skilled people to work in your business, you're going to have some amenity in your city that works for them. And they want to live, work and play in a place that's a really great place. Money isn't everything when you're in business. You know, when you're employed or you want a high-skilled job, it isn't all about money. It is about everything else it offers.
So what other events does the Chamber have coming up?
Well, I have to actually promote one of the ones I'm really particularly keen on at the moment, which is the Cooney Morgan Regional Business Women's Conference, which will be in early May. And again, that's about developing and having a really good opportunity for women to learn about business. So we've got a great lineup of speakers. On Friday night, we've got Nicola Bell, CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi, speaking. And we open the Saturday conference with Sir Henry van der Heyden, who is the former chair of Fonterra, who's still on the board, so he'll be very interesting. And closing with Catherine Wilson in a little number called For the Love of Shoes, and there's nothing that women love more than shoes, so I'm sure she'll have a lot to say about the business of shoes. But there's, you know, our BA5s are always very, very, very popular.
What is the Business Confidence Survey?
Every 3 months we put out a business confidence survey just to test what the economic market is like in the region, and that happens throughout all the chambers throughout the country. But interestingly, yesterday we spent a day on the phone with all of our members, and one of the questions we asked was, how was business? And almost without exception, everyone said that things were really, really busy, and they had a very sort of positive view of the way 2013 had started. So if that's anything to go by, it's a really great place and a sense of confidence that actually things could be, or maybe they're just not listening to the doom and gloom. Maybe they're just thinking we're going to make it happen, which is probably what happens after a while when people just get bored with doom and gloom and want things to happen. So we were really pleased with that general sense of confidence in the economy. So looking forward to 2013. Bring it on.
To find out about all things Tauranga Chamber of Commerce, you can visit tauranga.org.nz. That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.